In the fourth video of this lecture, I explain the proper ways that a CIO can involve a board member. First, let's learn why we would like to answer this question. In the case in chapter 9, we learned that the CIO had a presentation for the board about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to IT, and suggested that the board should be involved in IT decision making more so that only the neck of the CIO is not in the news if something go wrong. Carraro, a board member, was very enthusiastic about this idea and suggested an IT oversight committee and wanted to be more involved and have lunch with the CIO to discuss IT matters more. The CEO, on the other hand, was quite concerned as he believes that Carraro can complicate things and he may go for interfering uh, in the IT decisions rather than providing support to the CIO. So the question that I would like to answer here is that what is the proper way to involve a board member in IT governance, especially in this case, Carraro? What is uh, how we can involve Carraro in a way that doesn't complicate things? Matta and his colleagues suggested IT Governance Cube in 2016 that describes various responsibilities of the board regarding IT governance. As you can see here, the cube has three axes of uh, IT governance mechanism, IT governance functions, and IT governance roles. The board can play four different roles with regard to IT governance. First, the board can monitor. That means that the directors act as police for the executive team, including the CIO. So their task is to review and approve fundamental operational and financial decisions of the management team. The board can also have, advise the CIO and the team of executives. The directors are seen as sources of counseling on IT visions, IT strategies, and policies. Here, the board acts like a sounding board and a kind of problem solver. The third role of IT governance for a board is called co-opt, where uh, we try to include people with strong ties to multiple organizations, vendors, customers, and even governmental agencies, so that we can use these external links to bring in external resources such as capital, knowledge, trade, secrets, and so on and so forth. The fourth role of the board is to assimilate the critical IT knowledge and that is important for the survival and success of the company. They need to be aware of various IT risk and issues with regard to IT value creation in their organizations as well as other organizations so that they can use them to help make good decisions. The board is concerned about two functions in an organization, IT value creation and IT risk mitigation. First, the board tries to help the management team to create wealth and deliver economic value. At the same time, the board needs to also protect the wealth created by the company by uh, infusing accountability into the organization to mitigate the potential risks that threatens the survival or success of a company. The board can also use three different mechanisms for IT governance. We already learned two of them in the previous lecture. The first mechanism is creating decision-making structures, such as committees and teams that are responsible for decision making about IT. They can also uh, suggest uh, embedding formal processes about decision making in IT. And so what the board does is that it creates processes, continuous steps that the organization, the management team needs to take to uh, come up with a decision about an IT investment or an IT resource. The third role that we did not explain in the previous video was a communication approach. The board can use reports, mission statements, newsletters, and similar information sources to spread the principles and objectives of corporate governance or even receive information about those matters. Let's use the IT governance cube to understand the position of the three characters in our story. Carraro, the board member, suggested a board level IT oversight committee. He seems to be interested in changing the decision making structure, uh, the, the mechanism of IT governance in at IVK. The CEO, William, on the other hand, doesn't like the board's interference in the job of the CIO or himself. He doesn't, in particular, he doesn't like the decision-making structures and the formal processes for making decision is being changed. Especially, he may not like the monitoring of day-to-day activities uh, inside IVK by the board. Barton, on the other hand, is mainly concerned about IT risk mitigation. He feels that his neck is in the noose and he doesn't want to be like that when things go wrong. So he would like, he seems to be liking to involve the board as two roles of monitoring and providing advice. So, my suggestion to Jim Barton is to use the board's IT governance cube in his launch meeting with Carraro, figure out how else the board can help the IT department using this IT governance cube. It seems that the CEO Williams also like the board to be involved, but in roles such as advise, co-opt, and assimilate rather than monitor, uh, which allows the board to interfere uh, in the job of the CIO. He also seems to prefer the communication mechanism rather than making board part of the formal decision-making processes and decision structure. This way, uh, Jim Barton can satisfy both Williams and Carraro. Pause here for a minute and answer this question, and this question, and this last question. In the next lecture, we'll learn more about IT risk.